This is a Subaru Sambar KS4. It's a Kei Truck from Japan. 660 cc's of pure unbridled power. Let's talk about it. Bet your F-150 can't do that. All right, Subaru Sambar KS4. If you found this video, you probably already know what a Kei Truck is, but you know, we'll go over it. So in Japan, there's a class of vehicle called a Kei vehicle, truck. There are vans. The KSV is the van type. This is a truck type. This is new to me. I bought it April. It was imported from Japan in November of last year, so I was not the importer. I bought it from a guy who did import it. He's trying to start a business importing JDM vehicles. I chose to purchase an already imported vehicle as opposed to importing it myself because I wanted to be able to see it in person for the first one. I do plan on importing my next Kei Truck. I would like to get a scissor lift version. I do photography for a local rugby team as well as some others, and would really love to be able to lift the platform up and get video from about this high. So I might do that as the next build. Plus eventually I want to do one with like an engine swap, just really have fun with them. It does cost a little bit more to buy an already imported truck. I paid just over $10,000 for this one. If I had imported it myself, it probably would have been closer to $6,000-7,000. This is a very clean Sambar. I'll walk around, show you guys the paint, rust, and lack thereof in general. But this is pretty clean. It's got pretty low kilometerage, and I mean, it had a Wisconsin title already, which a lot of the hassle of import versus already imported is just dealing with paperwork, and I didn't really want to deal with that. So those are kind of the main advantages. This is a right-hand drive. It is stick shift, so it is kind of weird getting used to shifting with the left hand, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Fits two people, obviously, barely. I'll show you how well I fit in there. It's not terrible. It'll work as a daily driver. It's I mostly drive old vehicles, so for me it isn't, I'm not giving up a lot of creature comforts, but it's an interesting ride. Almost everything about this is manual. Stick shift, obviously, so the transmission is manual. The windows are hand crank. The locks are manual. So I have had this legal to drive on the roads for about a week now. I'll go over the registration and titling process for this particular type of registration, as in it's already been imported. It's really just a title transfer, but there are a few nuances to it being an imported truck, but I'll do a whole different specific video about that. It does require collector plates. It's kind of basically, that's the general overview. I have not taken this on the interstate. I think the max I've gone on this is about 65, which it will do, but it's not particularly happy about. So this is a supercharged version, 5-speed, 4 cylinders, 660 cc's, which is the limit for the Kei class. So a lot of people will do like engine swaps for these because they're pretty cheap to buy and then pretty easy to work on. The reasons that I picked a Sambar specifically, so this particular one has AC. I haven't used it yet. Wisconsin is toasty, but it's not so toasty that rolling the windows down isn't sufficient. But it does have AC as an option and heat. The manual transmission is pretty standard. You can get automatic ones, usually the vans, but the stick shift it's fun. I like it, especially if you're gonna be driving something like this. Sambar is known for having more space inside the cab. I am 5'12" and about 233 pounds as of this morning with a 34-inch inseam. sized 11.5 feet if you care. So because of that, I was concerned about how well I would fit in any of these. I've rented like Ford Fiestas when I'm driving long distances, and it was not particularly fun. So I was concerned about that. I will say, like I already mentioned, this isn't a comfortable ride, but I do fit in it. There's a few inches of clearance for my knees. I'll show that later on, but the cab size was one of the reasons I wanted a Sambar. Also, this one has a rear engine, so some of the models have a mid-engine, which would be under the truck, basically right under this tote right here, and then other models have a cab over, like more traditional cab over, where the engine will actually be underneath the passenger seat. Those ones apparently are very, very loud, and the cab gets very, very toasty. I was interested in the ability to do stoppies with them, so maybe for the next one I'll get a cab over, front engine and scissor lift, and then we'll really have some fun. I'll make like a front bumper bar or something and do some stoppies. That would be fun. Main advantages, I wanted the extra cab space. The 5-speed I heard was better for the higher speeds, so I'm not planning on taking this on the interstate. I'm not trying to be a speed demon, but I do live somewhere where I don't need to drive hours to get places, but there are cities and towns with friends that I want to visit that are about a half hour away by interstate. With the country highways, speed limit of about 55, this thing handles it pretty decently. I'm not really concerned with it. I heard the 5-speed and the supercharger does kind of help with that. So in the week I've been driving it, I've taken it up and down those highways a couple times, handles it pretty well. So that was a bonus. The rear engine I like, because I do kind of want to do some work on this. I don't want to do a whole lot because I am trying to daily this, and I don't want to turn it into a project that sits in my driveway along with the 2 other trucks sitting in my driveway. But those are kind of the main advantages. Also just Kei Truck advantages in general. This is a 4x6 bed, which is pretty awesome. All of the sides fold down, and it's pretty cool. I have an F-150 that I kind of moved to this from that. So the fact that I'm not really giving up any bed space is pretty cool. And the fact that since these fold down, I can actually haul stuff that's probably bigger than what my F-150 bed can hold, or at least easier. So that's gonna be pretty cool. But let's get a little bit closer, show off some details. All right, let's start at the bottom with the wheels. So I personally have not made, this pavement is toasty. I personally have not really made any modifications to this, any major modifications yet. One of the first things a lot of people do with their Kei Trucks, and actually what the importer already did, is change out the tires. So he did provide me with the stock tires, these tiny little, just absolutely adorable little things. This is a 145 R12, so little 12-inch tires. I think if you need to replace one of these, you just go to Lowe's and you just get a wheelbarrow tire, and it's basically the same thing. So these things, I haven't driven on them. I know I've seen a lot of people say that this is usually the first thing that they swap out. Some people will actually swap back to these. I think it's how you get the best gas mileage if you're looking to maximize that. I have 4 of these plus a spare located under here in case I ever need it. What he has upgraded them to are these bad boys. So this is a 185/60 R14, 14-inch tire. So it is basically bigger in every way. It's taller, it's wider, it's, I'm going to assume, stronger. This one does say ultra grip. I don't know, it doesn't describe grip on here that I can see. But pretty nice tires. They have the same bolt pattern. There is a different offset, so there is actually a little spacer plate in there that I think is, I haven't actually taken these tires off to see what it looks like under there, if it's just a kind of a spacer that I pull off, just slip on and off. But if I were to ever blow out one of these and had to swap for the spare, I'm not actually sure. That would be a terrible ride if I had 2-inch smaller tire up here. So I think it is technically possible. So if I had to get somewhere, I could certainly limp it there. It's a Kei Truck though, so I could probably also just pick it up and drag it if I needed to. But like I said, tires are generally one of the first things that people upgrade. I haven't noticed any rubbing issues. I think when I try and make really tight turns, it sounds like I might have some rubbing. So I do need to kind of stick a camera under there, see what's going on. I do eventually plan on putting a moderate lift on this. I don't want to go full pavement princess, need a widow wadder to climb up into my truck level lift, but enough to get a smoother ride. The suspension in this, it has suspension, but only as a technicality. The ride can be pretty rough. So I would like to put, I don't know, maybe 1.5 inch lift on it, get some, mostly just so I can get some better suspension. And that'll probably eliminate most, if not all, potential rubbing issues. I don't really plan on going larger tires, but we'll see how it looks when it does have a bit of a lift. We may have to play a balancing game. So I do have these stock tires. If I were to want to go back to these, probably won't, but I'll keep them around. For the spare tire that's on here, I may just pick up another one of these. That would obviously be the easiest way to do it. I kind of think I want to move the spare tire up onto the front, kind of like off-road or VW bus style. Kind of gives me a bit of a quasi bumper because there's basically no safety in the front of this thing. And it would open up some storage space under here. So it might be an option, you know. We'll see what happens in future videos, but that's the tires. Let's do a walk around, talk about a few of these features. So, what a pretty truck. So the blue is not stock. I think all standard Kei Trucks start out as white. So that's what I believe it was when it was imported. I believe the importer added the blue and the black. So probably one of the most currently significant signs of age of this vehicle is the windshield wipers. There is some signs of rust, but I don't really think it's a big deal. I can swap those out pretty easily if I care. He did add, there's my finger. He did add the SDI sticker. I might remove that, I don't know. There's a few of the Japanese stickers already. This is the passenger side. I've walked up to this several times already. So the gas cap is down there. Let me pop it open. I'll show you guys what it looks like. The thing is down here. And then it does pop out. So it is a extremely basic gas cap. I'm probably gonna end up 3D printing something to hold this because right now it doesn't really, as far as I know, it doesn't go anywhere. So I usually end up just putting it in the bed, which is a recipe for forgetting it one day. And it just pops back in. So the blue, I do really like the paint job. The black is pretty nice. The battery holder, so the battery is on the outside. I'm not super thrilled with how exposed it is. I do have a cover for it. I need to install it. That will be a future project. Pretty easy to do. I just haven't done it yet. These little spots down here are actually apparently for stepping in. Look at those calves. Now this bed mat is one of the probably the biggest thing I've done so far. The bed was painted black, which is nice. Oh, also, that's where the engine is, or for access. So I added the bed liner. It's, if you have a Tractor Supply near you, you can buy it for, I think it was $49. They also had a 4x6 multi-purpose mat, which was about half as thick, for $77, which doesn't make any sense. So buy the stall mat for $49. It's not a perfect fit, but I mean, it's close enough for me. So it's something I would recommend if you plan on putting anything in the back. Right now I have this tote for all my camera equipment, but I do want to get something a little bit more secure and not needing ratchet straps to hold it in place. And then we have ourselves a nice flatbed. So This is a pretty cool feature. Honestly, I really love this and hope to get to use it at some point. One of the issues that I will have to deal with is the fact that that tire, now that I have larger tires, this doesn't sit flat. And so right now, I cannot drive with the sides down like this. I'll probably 3D print some kind of spacers to hold them up. Probably hold them at like a 45 or something like that to lock them. The clips are pretty basic. Honestly, they could probably be a little more secure. It's got some jiggle to it. I'll probably find some way to improve that. The previous owner included some cardboard to keep that from rattling, so I'll have to do something with that. All right, let's do a quick little look at the back. So a lot of people will remove this back plate, especially for the ones that change the exhaust. Currently, my exhaust is stock. Come on now. There we go. I think some people, the thing just disappears entirely. They just lose it for a lot of the ones that you buy. So this is the engine. Subaru Clover 4. Have your oil filler down here. I do have some blue, oh, those are spark plugs. I've got some blue lines that came from the guy. Probably replace those at some point. The exhaust is down there. He also provided me with an aftermarket exhaust that I'll probably add on because, I mean, this isn't super exciting. I don't need it to be obnoxiously loud, but, you know, improve the sound, maybe improve the performance just a tiny bit. Not trying to max this out, but some games would be nice. Got a dipstick over here. I haven't opened up the top access panel yet, but I believe that would be how you would get at the rear. You can see the alternators back in there. I actually don't know if you guys can see anything because this is in the shade, but hopefully it'll brighten up. But this is an easy way to get at this. Eventually, when I do start taking this to car shows, I'll have to clean this up a bit. But honestly, everything's pretty easy to get to, especially if I were to put this up on some jack stands. It's going to be way easier than working on modern cars and trucks. So the advantages of a 30-year-old vehicle. All right, so let's have a conversation about getting in this vehicle. Like I said, I'm 5'12". Height-wise, I've got, if I stand up, not quite a full fist. What do we got for distance? Sitting up, about 2.5 inches above my head. As I sit, I have about 3 inches in front of both knees before I hit the dash. They do hit the steering wheel column if I bring it in. I'll show from the other side in a minute how I hit the shift knob. It's not too bad on the sides. One of the main things, I don't know if it shows up, but the window crank is kind of placed right here. Something I do need to modify. I'm gonna have to do something with the window crank because when the window is all the way up, the knob for it sits about right here. When it's cranked down, I am able to kind of put the little rotating grabby knob behind my calf, so it's way more comfortable that way. I am going to need to do something about that though, either a low profile option, maybe relocate the window crank entirely. So I'm probably going to try and relocate that as a future project. For right now, it's not a big deal. I basically drive around with the windows open all the time because it is Wisconsin. This is not the stock steering wheel. I do have the stock steering wheel, which is this. So size difference, it's just a little bit. This new one fits inside of the old one. So it would not be, it wouldn't make it too much worse. Doesn't look like it would be hitting my thighs. It might make it just a little bit tougher to get in and out, or depending on how I'm holding it, I'd be more likely to be hitting my thighs. I do not have any plans to go back to this, but that is one of the modifications. So if you do get a stock one, it is going to be this, which is about 14.5 inches in diameter, whereas this new one is about 12.5 in diameter at the widest, and at the narrowest it's about 11.5 with this little bottom flat spot. Horn still works, so that's nice. I may modify this still. It does, the blue matches, which is nice, but I don't know. One of the issues with this is that when I'm sitting here, my line of sight, I'm actually not able to see the top of the speedometer, and I also cannot see my blinker indicators or the brights when I have my headlights on. So there have been a few times where I've been driving with the brights and not noticed, because there is a difference. It's just the brights are not super bright on this. That's going to be one of the upgrades I make, but flies. I have been thinking I may try and do something to change that. Honestly, the more likely scenario is I'm just going to redo this entire dash so that it's kind of just better placed, either below or above, just in some way to improve this. I don't think this tilts at all, at least not that I'm aware of, though to be fair, I have not tried it. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Kind of a thing of note, right here is the brake fluid. So this would be a good spot to put some other stuff. However, I do need access to that. Not super often though, so I may 3D print something. Maybe this would be a good, maybe not a cup holder. I guess that would fit. Maybe I'll put a cup holder on there and just retain this clip functionality. But that's where your brake fluid goes. All right, let's have a discussion about the rest of the interior. So, close the door. Like you can see, there's decent overhead. The stick shift isn't too bad. When it is in fifth, it does get a little bit close. It's honestly not too terrible. Got some visors. They do okay. Honestly, this might be the only vehicle I've ever been in where I feel like these sit too low. Honestly, that's really more of an issue of the fact that I'm just kind of taller than what this vehicle is generally intended for. Overall height, so there is a bit of a fishbowl feeling with this vehicle because there is just so much glass. However, my eye line is about here. So I do sometimes find myself having to duck down, especially because with this being such a flat nose, you kind of tend to pull really close up to traffic lights. So I do have to kind of lean forward to see those from time to time. So this does come with a radio. There is an antenna back here. As far as I'm aware, it only picks up Japanese signals, is what I've been told. I've never actually tried to use it. I have just been currently just bringing along a little, is this JBL? iJoy. Just a little speaker, and I leave it up on the dash. I do plan to eventually either buy a Bluetooth radio or print a holder for my speaker. Buying the radio would obviously be better, so that's probably what I'll do eventually. This does have air conditioning, very manual. You can literally hear the vents changing. I believe I did try to have to use the defroster one evening, but overall I really haven't done a whole lot with this. It does have hazards. So one of the probably most confusing things, so besides the fact that you're on the right side of the vehicle, you're shifting with your left hand, the blinker is on the right side of the steering wheel and the windshield wipers are on the left. So of all the controls, that's probably what gets me the most. When I'm super diligent and like properly paying attention, it's not a big deal. When it turns into like a more instinct thing, if I'm kind of focused on something else, sometimes I have still hit that windshield wiper. We'll see what happens when I start bouncing between this and other vehicles more consistently. Right now I'm just driving this all the time because it's the most fun, but we'll see if that throws me off. I may see if I can like 3D print something to flip it around and make it a little more consistent. Do have a handbrake over here, parking brake. So these seats are not stock, if you can't tell by the difference in the color of the headrests. These were, I don't know, probably not custom, but I believe these are boat seats. So there is a custom plate All right, this one doesn't have it. The driver's seat does have a custom plate to make it actually bolt down. This one is a little bit more loose. Something I do intend to do is probably remove these headrests, probably remove them entirely, just because honestly, there's not really any way for it to help. If I raise them up and maybe make it more padded, that is a possibility. I do have a design for the Isekai Express, name of this channel. There should have been a logo at the start of this video. I do want to embroider and put them up as headrests, so I may do that for the driver's side. Maybe I'll just leave the passenger just empty so it's a little bit easier to see out of. Back window is still pretty easy to see out of. I'm not super concerned, but I do kind of want a decently clean look. But the headrests are there, easily removable, mostly useless. These seats are nice. There's no adjustability to them. I'm assuming these are thicker than stock. Based on the videos I've seen of other people's, I think these do have a little bit more padding. They're not uncomfortable by any means. They are comfortable. They're a little bit solid, so in the summer, like my back definitely gets sweaty. I kind of lean forward a bit sometimes. I may try to do something about that. I feel like I may have better space if I didn't have these seats, but I'm not so cramped that it's an issue, and I don't think that a ½ inch is really going to change my world. So I'll probably just leave them as is. Dash-wise, we don't have, well, we have a decent amount of space. There is a cubby over here and kind of a platform over here. With the suspension that this thing has, I do have to be careful. The stuff on here will generally go flying. I've had this speaker end up on the floor a bunch of times. Sometimes when I throw my phone up here, it'll pop down on the floor. If I'm going over train tracks, I do need to be pretty careful about that. I do have plans to eventually 3D scan this whole dash. I want to be able to make things that pop down into these. Any scans that I do and any designs that I print, I will be putting online for other people to download and print if they want. Kind of amusingly, this has a surprisingly spacious glove box. So I don't know how many McChickens you could fit in there, but pretty decent amount. I've put a container, like I've stored camera equipment in here when I've been driving around. It's got a pretty good amount of space. One of the issues is kind of storing stuff in general, storage space. So the bed obviously has lots of space. You would have to put something in it to kind of keep stuff. It's very easy. It's a low bed. It's not like a lifted truck where you can kind of hide stuff in there. People can just very easily scoop stuff up and go. So the tote that's in there right now is it would work if I put a lock on it. I do need to make a bracket if I were to use it to lock it in there. I don't want to just be using ratchet straps to hold it down. So one of the things I do want to do is build some kind of toolbox or, bed box for especially like emergency supplies, things like that. I need somewhere to put a jack. There is some space behind these seats. Currently, I do have a net for going over the bed. I haven't used that yet. There is kind of a little bit of space back there. I don't really know if I would consider it to be more useful to have this folded down. The guy I bought it from said this is how people would transport stuff, but I don't know if it's actually better than just this seat. And then it can kind of fold up. I guess I could have been doing that if I wanted to. Again, I mean, this is where you would get at the engine for the other types. I think I am able to get at, what do we have under here? Ooh. So, looks like that is for the radiator. Okay, so I wanted to get at it. There's some space in there and the windshield washer fluid. Not a whole lot under here for this particular vehicle. It'd be a lot more exciting for the other flavors of Kei Trucks. Ooh, cup holders. So one of the major, probably first upgrades a lot of people make cosmetically or just for use is cup holders. There are no official cup holders. There is this kind of square space back here. I'm not sure if it's meant to be a cup holder. I do find that it does hold an energy drink can sufficiently, so that's where I've been putting all of my drinks. I'll probably leave that as it is. I do plan on printing some kind of cup holders, maybe for the dash. There is a ashtray. I don't smoke, so I could definitely use this space for something. There is also a little kind of cubby down here that currently I've been leaving the cigarette lighter because I have been using that as a charging port because, again, I don't smoke. But I may try to do something with this whole space. I'd kind of like to probably redo most of this dash. I have pretty large 3D printers, so I could get pretty crazy with it. We'll see though. Also, one of the upgrades that I have already made, so this obviously is a Japanese vehicle, so everything speed-wise on the speedometer is kilometers per hour. Some people will make a little sheet that shows a translation. I bought a little just GPS speedometer gauge. Currently I have it held on by tape. I've been kind of testing out to see how I feel about it. It's fine, gets the job done. It's not as visually appealing as I would like. The numbers are very basic. It's about 3 miles per hour high, so when it says I'm doing 55, I'm actually doing about 52, but that's close enough for government work. So that does help. It is something I would recommend. They're super cheap, and it just plugs into the cigarette lighter. Eventually, I do kind of want to redo the whole dash. Like I said, there are issues with me seeing like the blinker or the brights, so I would like to change that up. But that's probably one of the easiest things to just slap in here, and it's just nicer than having a sheet of paper. Another one of the upgrades that I have done, and I will do right now, is the rear view mirror. So right now, like, I can see basically between the headache bars, which works fine, but for a really cheap upgrade, you can get this really wide extension. So it just clips onto here, and oh boy, I can now see myself, which is not needed, but basically, yeah, oh, I can see so much more with this. And it's like a $7 upgrade, so it's definitely something I'd recommend. Just go on Amazon, look up panoramic rear view mirror. There's this tiny little light up here. At night, it works. Not sure what this other side does. I haven't seen it do anything. I have no reason to believe that there's any sensors on the door. So, turns on. I'll probably upgrade that in some way. There is this weird little outlet thing on the back. There is a light right behind it on the outside. This looks, you probably can't see it from any of these angles. It does look like a standard 115 volt outlet. It is not. I saw some videos where they talked about it, but I don't remember what it's for. I think it goes to the light that's outside. I haven't had the bed light work yet. I do need to probably swap it out. I'll make an upgrade to that in some way, whether it's upgraded to a reverse light, a truck bed light, or probably more likely a brake light. There are some swaps for that. Headliner's in pretty good shape. I may make some upgrades to that. I don't know. I'd like to mostly make a lot of cosmetic upgrades to this for right now. Cosmetic, and then performance-wise, mostly just improving the ride. I don't really want to try and improve the performance too much. That's not my main goal, because I feel like I would end up mostly just tearing the vehicle apart a bunch for minor upgrades and not get to drive it as much. But that's kind of overview of the inside in general. Let's drive this thing. If you watched all the way to this point, thank you so much. Please consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a like if you feel like it was at least a little bit entertaining. One of my 2026 goals is to really lean into making Kei Truck content, including maintenance videos, custom upgrades, updates on Kei Truck news, and general lifestyle videos, living life on the right side of the slow lane. So there is a lot more to come. See you in the next one.